everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back for your 9th DC Stargirl Season 3 episode review. Before we start the actual episode review proper, we got some things to talk about before we start, so I apologize. Skip ahead if you want to actually get to the episode. Well, this is important for Stargirl. This isn't an ActionX update. This is more like just an actual things to go. We are very sad to report that DC Stargirl has been canceled. It will not be renewed for season 4. This current season is the final one. We did get good news that they did anticipate this to be the case when they were writing the 3rd season. So the final episodes of the season will act kind of like a series conclusion, and that they will kind of not leave anything unturned most part of that. So it will kind of act like a more definitive ending, rather than one of those, last minute cancellations. They're scrambling to at least make a decent finale, but it doesn't resolve everything. So when we come back, because when the show, this season's final episode airs on December 7th, that will be the last episode for the whole show. We do know that there is a rumored crossover with Stargirl in terms of just the character herself popping into the HBO Max side of things for, I don't know. We do know it's some sort of Titans and Stargirl crossover, but it's just Stargirl herself going onto the show for whatever reason. We don't know the full extent of that, when that's going to premiere, but we do know that it is happening at some point in the future. So we will get to see Courtney Whitmore at least one more time on the DC TV side of thing. Whether or not how those specifics figure out and what the references are, we'll figure out then. But of course, until we get to that moment, for now, this is the last au revoir to the cast, to the crew, to the characters that we've known and loved since 2020. It's bittersweet. I had high hopes that the show would be renewed for season 4, but however, everything going on with the CW, as well as with the new corporate parents, the new leader, the new president, they all have a very vastly different direction right now, and what they want to do is make money. And to be completely honest, it is sadly the corporate mindset for certain media outlets and media providers. They have a corporate outlook where they need to make money, and Stargirl, as well as a lot of other CW shows, do not make the money. It costs them money to make these shows. And I'm actually learning quite a bit about it, but we'll talk about that at a later date. But for now, this is the last season. There will be no season 4 predictions after we're done with our usual season 3 episode reviews. We will just go straight to the season 3 review itself, and then we will go from there. I do have a plan to keep Stargirl alive in our hearts for What's in the Tube going into the future, but we'll talk more about that next year. But for now, this is the final run of episode reviews. It sucks. It really does suck. This is, I think, the 3rd time this happened to me. The first was Katie Clean, but that was after the fact, and then Tom Swift, which it sucked, but it was the first season. This being a show that was in our hearts for a lot of years, and now it's coming to a close. It does suck. It really does suck. And I do really hope, I know even on the HBO Max side of things with DC, a lot of things are changing as well. A lot of things are, being transformed to a new way, and we have no idea what the future of DC looks like in terms of a media post Aquaman 2. So it's all up in the air of like what is next for them, what is going to be the next thing, what is going to be more consistent going forward. And it does suck, on the WB, CW, DC side of things, we are in a transitional period, and it sucks that a lot of our favorite shows, a lot of our favorite movies that we were anticipating are all getting canceled, are all going away. It sucks. It really does suck. But hopefully in a few years from now, we can look back at this as like, this was the rough period, and then going forward, we won't have these issues again. We'll have nothing but amazing products to enjoy. Maybe, who knows, maybe we will see Courtney Whitmore again. But at this time, we have no idea what the plans are. And, but for now, let's just enjoy the ride for the rest of this season and see what happens. Because for this episode of Stargirl, I really enjoyed it. It felt more like an emotion. For some reason, this episode felt like what Spider-Man 3 needs to be back in 2007. I don't know why, because like the way certain storylines were going, it kind of felt similar. Like for some reason, the overall, now that I'm actually, I could say this with a confident like 3-season tier, is that this kind of felt like Stargirl's modern take on the Spider-Man Raimi trilogy in a very unique way. It's like the first we have some correlations. The second season, as well as the second movie, has its own correlation. This season kind of felt like something akin to that a little bit. But maybe once we get to a more future definitive series review, maybe we'll talk about that more in the future. But for now, that's kind of the comparison. This episode kind of, it jogs some memories in my head. It's like, oh, I forgot I was making this comparison earlier in private when I wasn't on camera. But for overall speaking, I thought this was a great episode. Definitely, this is a very crucial episode now that we're fully back on the whole main storyline. There's still another damn new Mister, which I'm like, bro, you got like 4 episodes to go. Are you really certain you're going to wrap this all up? We don't know. We just don't know, but we'll figure it out soon enough. But let's go through the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of DC Stargirl. So we begin right where the last episode left off. Courtney and Pat return home after a very long bus ride back from wherever the hell they were in that loony asylum / not asylum / kind of asylum, but regardless of what the case might be, they're back home. They actually called in Barbara a little bit earlier before their bus ride just to let them know that they are coming back home. Courtney just, heads back up to her room to get some rest before school. Because imagine on top of all this crazy stuff that happened, you still have to go to school the next day. As for Pat, he's still reeling in from his trip through the Shadowlands. Obviously, last season when Courtney went through it, we didn't really have much time to actually sit down and talk about it. Since I think it was towards the end of the season, so we didn't really have much to discuss about it. And then going into now having a little bit more time, Pat's is very much the open husband he is. He tells her like, yeah, I saw you, I saw my dad, and I saw, conversations about the fact that, hey, my dad, I have a feeling that I'm going down my father's path of being very neglectful, being very not honest, being, a little bit, shallow in myself. And of course, Barbara saying, you're absolutely not your father. You are going down your own path, something that Mike will grow to respect, even though you might have some steps at your decision. You don't really know how it's all going to turn out at the end of the day. And it really, and obviously again, Pat, has a lot of, emotional baggage to carry, and also with with Mike's mom, that we don't really know what happened to her, which ironically, we know more details about her in this episode, thankfully. So it turns out when, Pat and her were like, I think he said like more than the lines, like it was a very short-term relationship. Could have been just, whatever the case. But knowing Pat's characteristic, it probably was just a short-term relationship. He probably had high expectations for it, but it didn't really work out for him. So they ended up splitting. But she got pregnant before they split, but she didn't notify him until after they split. And then when she had the kid, Pat was like immediately happy that he had a son of his own, that he has his own kid, his own blood. And they tried to make this co-parenting thing work for 2 years, which had its own fair share of problems because she suffered from an abuse problem. She suffered from I'm guessing drug possession and drug using, and that would sometimes create issues between, especially when you have when you're taking care of a little kid. That's definitely not an environment a kid needs to be around. And then of course we kind of where the Shadowlands was telling us that one day she left Mike in the middle of a shelter. The police brought Mike home to Pat, and of course they didn't get to communicate with her again until when they arrested her for substance possession. And then finally, after that all was said and done, then she used all the negative energy against her, all the negative, charges to basically give him full custody of him. And she never really argued. She never really made a complaint for her. She never really because she knew that in her heart, this is just speculation here, but just in reality, like when they're on the path and they're not getting treatment or anything, it's most of the time they don't care about anything else. They only care about when do they get their next hit, when they get their next high, and having a kid is just something they're not thinking of in the moment. And she basically let Mike go, and Pat couldn't really accept that. So he kind of just basically thought it better for Mike to never have contact with his mom. And then even when Mike got older and she asked, where's my mom? Like, can I go see her? And Pat would always say no, because it wouldn't. How do you tell a kid that, like, yeah, your mom doesn't care about you? She basically left you for drugs. Like, how do you tell a kid that? You really don't. And eventually, over the years, Mike eventually just learned not to talk about it anymore and just forgot about it. But it doesn't escape the back of his mind that, like, I wonder where is my mom today? I wonder where she is. And honestly, again, it's a good question. I can understand that, but at the end of the day, Pat made the decision he thought was best for Mike, but Barbara said, like, maybe it's better Mike at least gets that opportunity to have that one showdown with her, like Courtney did back in season 1. Courtney meeting her dad, like, it was unplanned. maybe it was going to be for the beneficial of her and her development, but it turned out to be the wrong case. And then, but Courtney sadly had to experience that, but she did also get to experience that. So she knew for good, like, okay, this guy's a piece of shit. He will never be a part of my life ever. So screw him. Maybe Mike needs to learn that for himself in order for him to like fully move past his mother. That, okay, my mom is just not ready to ever have me in her life. So better I just forget about her now than, never trying to like get her back later on in the future. Meanwhile, Courtney is greeted by Yolanda, and immediately they start hugging. They start saying, "I'm sorry," because again, like it's been a very traumatic few couple days for them. They had like the whole secrets revealed, everything with the split, and then also everything with the cameras, and then actually Yolanda getting kicked out of her parents' house, and Courtney's like, "I can't believe that your parents would actually do that," but she's like, "I still made the right call because." Me telling them wasn't going to solve anything. It wasn't going to be like they were going to be so supportive of them like Beth's parents were, because they're not. Most likely than not, they were going to be immediately disproving of her. They were going to tell everyone, hey, my kid tried to be a superhero, and then it would have created a whole shackle of issues. And like, yeah, it does suck that she's not with her family anymore. But at the end of the day, right now, like, it's like, it's the secret we chose to do. We chose to be these people, and we have to continue on that message regardless of how tough things get. And, it's a sentimental thing that Yolanda said, because like, yeah, she's willing to give up something familiar to her just to do the right thing. And again, I don't even know how she's imagining right now, because like, again, thank God she has a good support system like Courtney's parents who will completely take her in and everything. But some people, they don't have that. Like they'll have that very unstable household, and if they ever leave or get kicked out, where do they turn? Sometimes they don't have another support system to go to, and it does suck. I can't relate to that, but I've been associated with people that have dealt with that. So it does suck. But right now, the priority right now is for Courtney to make amends with Beth and Rick, and also to tell them the truth, and as well as, there's one other thing that I need to do going forward, but I'm going to need your approval on them. I'm going to need your like firm standing on that this is going to happen. And she's like, what? I think after that, I want to say, so we get to Pat. He's back in the shop, trying to look up his ex-wife, and for some reason Mr. Croc decides to enter in. Starts asking questions. Sylvester pages in just to say that one of the leads that Beth found for him is a no-go, so he's gonna be heading back to the to town just to like regroup and figure out what the next move is. A second time in the 3 times in a week we just don't see Sylvester, which again, it makes sense. You can't afford Joe McHale every episode. You gotta have it straight. I knew this was gonna happen at some point. However, once that's over, Croc asks, Pat, what's on his mind. He says, like, I think he's going to want to explore if Mike's mom is even in the realm of possibility of, like, at least meeting Mike as in general, but he's still uncertain about it, even though he's willing to give it a go. Mr. Croc said, I don't think that's a smart idea to, like, get your ex-wife involved, but, and Pat's like, well, it's a little bit more complicated than that, and he's like, well, you trust me by this point. Like, I think for all the murder clearing and just my rehabilitation, like, me not killing the gambler, like, at least by this point, you should at least trust me that I've reformed a bit. And I guess Pat's like, well, where do I begin? But we don't get to that right now, because for some reason, Mike and New Thunderbolt, I forgot his name, I apologize, are having breakfast at the diner, which again, there's a type of breakfast. Actually, it's a small town. It probably likes about $8, and they got jobs. Yeah, they can afford it. They're back on the case trying to figure out, like, again, when do they have time to, like, actually get, like, debriefings from the others? Like, hey, what's going on? Like, what's exactly going on? And, well, actually, it's been a long week. I apologize. I remember Mike was part of the camera removal squad. So even though they got most of the cameras out of Blue Valley, right now they do have to focus on trying to find whoever is the person, since, of course, the assumed Mr. Bones and everything is not those people. So who is the people watching them, they still don't know. So once again, Mike thinks this is their opportunity to, like, jump to the front lines, figure out the case before anyone else. And like, oh, Mike, you poor sweet fool. And their new angle is like, let's find Cindy. I think if we have Cindy on our side, it would prove that, like, she is valuable to someone, that she can be part of a team, and that we can also use her information to figure out what the hell's going on for sure. Which again, always very much good speculation, but it's still a big old question mark. Where the hell is Cindy? It's been a while since we've seen Cindy, and she was going for a transformation. So, and again, this is why I'm still curious, like, how the hell are they going to wrap all this up in 4 episodes? I really don't know. But anyway, we come back to the school. It's lunchtime again. Courtney spills out over apologies to Rick and Beth. They agree. They're like, okay, yeah, we're sorry. We're always forgiven. best to keep our friendship, surviving than just a little conflict of interest, divide us. Which Courtney's like, great, I have another thing that's gonna split us up maybe, but I'm at least telling you this before I do it. And Rick's like, oh God, not again. What do you want to do now? And she's like, I'm gonna tell Cameron everything about us, the new JSA, the old JSA, us, the battle with Icicle, everything. And Rick's like immediately like, what the hell are you doing? You are literally risking our private life just so you can keep a boyfriend. And again, like, here's the thing about high school romances. They're not forever. They might be temporary. They might be forever. You don't know. You really don't know. I understand Courtney wants to give this the benefit of the doubt. She wants to give this a good shot. But the thing at the end of the day is, like, he has a point. I do understand you want to keep Cameron in your life as your boyfriend, and I understand you need to be truthful. Again, relationships, number one thing, gotta have communication, gotta be honest with each other. I do understand that. Me as a person speaking. The issue is, again, Cameron is with villainous background, with family history. He has these powers, but he still doesn't know understand how to control it. And also, the crucial thing is that you want to tell him that we were part of killing his dad. I don't think that's the right move for anyone to play right now. It's not. But Yolanda's like, I'm in on the idea. I was wrong a little bit about Cindy. I think I could be wrong about this too. We need to at least give it a fair shake that, like, that we can do this. Like, Cameron can be trusted with this information. And they're like, fine. But if this goes south, I would have told you so. And also it's indicated that, Rick is now holding onto the hourglass full time on his person. So he's always having the powers. I think after that, we just get to a scene where the art teacher, the one that was like prevalent in the last 2 seasons, he shows up in front of their Cameron's house with his grandparents. And immediately he goes in and he's like, asking, like, I don't think Cameron's well. Is everything okay at home? Because, Cameron just all of a sudden just quit art. And I know he's a great artist. I know he has a potential future in this, that he should go back on this. And of course, the grandpa's obviously like the sweet one. He was like, just explained to him, like, yes, you're right. Cameron needs to go back on this path. And grandma's like, no, he needs to be focusing on controlling his power to be our force, a weapon for our choosing. And she's like, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm done playing the nicety. She literally shoots an ice beam or an ice shard at him, killing the teacher, which I'm like, damn, I was not expecting that whatsoever. I was literally not. Yeah, so I believe afterwards, I want to say, what was that? Yeah, so he dies, and then once Courtney gets the blessing from everyone else, she heads over back to the she also heads over to the to Cameron's house. This time Cameron answers the door, and he said, we need to talk. And again, whenever your girlfriend tells you we need to talk, I'm actually surprised Cameron did not just say, oh no, we're having the breakup talk, this is happening, I knew this was going to happen. No, thankfully it was not paraphrased like that. Meanwhile, Mike and New Thunderbolt decide, you know what? How do we find Cindy? We're going to break into her locker. We're going to take her stuff. And it's like, damn, you just have no chill over here, you guys. You really don't deserve girlfriends right now. You really don't. But they do, however, when they're looking for the locker, they do find a note that had a bunch of, sites that Starman already visited during his hunt to try and find any sort of connection to whoever might be, watching them. And there's only one place they didn't check in, which is, I think, Elite Farms or something like that. So they say, you know what? This is our opportunity to go in there and actually figure shit out for ourselves. We get a scene where Barbara is being trained by Tigress, just in the ways of martial arts and self-defense. And it's kind of a throwaway. It's kind of like a weird scene that, like, it is to demonstrate, like, I think at this point Barbara does view Mrs. Croc as a friend. And I will. It was a little sweet when Miss Croc said, "I've never been a friend before," and I'm like, "Bro, this is the sort of thing that I can't handle sometimes." I'm like, "No offense, we'll talk more about this in the season review." I'm like, "Oh god, the Crocs this season." Like, I know they're trying to be comedic relief, and I understand this was trying to be a sweet and poignant scene, but I just was not feeling it. I was not feeling it whatsoever. I want to say after that, so Yolanda, Rick, and Beth, while Courtney's off talking to Cameron. They're just talking about, like, how just far they've come. And, it's like, it wasn't that long ago when they decided to be these superheroes, like, how difficult it's going to be, how many choices they were going to have to make. And again, I'm pretty sure Yolanda has a fresh air of belief of, like, oh, I don't have to be constantly followed by my parents and everything. So, like, I feel well. Also, I'm pretty sure someone's going to check that phone bill of hers, since I'm pretty sure her parents are about to cut her off at any moment. But anywho, Bev gets another signal that there's a powerful energy all of a sudden emerging at another residence nearby. And of course, Rick is starting to get like, the Hour Man, stress going in. And she reveals that, oh, it's at Cameron's house. Which are like, crap, here we go. So Courtney's in with Cameron in a private study. Well, not the private study, just like in the art room we were in before. And, Courtney's about to, begin talking about just, her being Stargirl, the JSA, everything about, their battle with the ISA. And this is, I think, around the time Cameron's grandma was overhearing things, and when Courtney was about to reveal everything, she immediately says, stop, you are not allowed to say anything. Like, this girl's about to lie to you. You can't say shit. And however, before they can even figure out what the hell's going on with that front, Rick burst in the Hour Man suit, ready to kick some ass, saying that I knew it. The grandparents were behind watching us the whole damn time. They were the one watching us, which I'm like, interesting, but yeah, interesting. I don't think it was entirely them, but like, okay, they don't deny it, but they don't also accept it. But anyway, a battle ensues. Rick goes after Cameron. Yolanda goes after the grandma, and Bev for some reason goes after Grandpa because like he's the only best bet they have. Also, yeah, both Grandma and Grandpa have icicle powers as well, which makes sense. But yeah, so they have powers as well. So they all engage in a combat with them. Courtney, without her staff, has really no real use in this battle, just trying to stop them from fighting. But between Rick's over aggressiveness and Cameron's newfound powers, like it's still very much that raw energy that like she doesn't really want to get involved in that much because she can get hurt at the end of the day. Yeah, Beth also discovers during this fight that she has a combat mode, so the goggles can initiate like combat mode throughout the entire suit. So she uses that and manages to at least subdue a little bit of the grandpa, but isn't that much. And then for some weird reason, Artemis shows up. Like, we haven't seen her in weeks, and suddenly she just shows up. She bursts through the window, attacks the grandpa, saves Beth, and I'm like, where did you come from? Like, where? Like, you literally came out of thin air. Like, I almost completely forgot about you. But, I've seen your parents more often than that, but where the hell were you? Yeah, so also Cameron's grandma is also whooping Yolanda's ass. Again, an old lady kicking Yolanda's ass. I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't understand. I don't underestimate their power. I really don't. They literally take down Yolanda, and they go back to the other fight where Rick and Cameron are literally going 100% into their strength. Again, how does Cameron not really get severely injured during this fight? Who really knows? Because again, Rick is operating at full 100% capacity, and he's breaking bones, he's breaking body parts. Cameron's just using raw power by this point, and he's still matching toe to toe with him. So after that, so they get to a little bit of like a stalemate until Rick gets a bit of a chokehold on him going, and then eventually once Cameron's grandma shows back up and says like, it was them, they killed your father. And I was just like, oh my god, the over dramaticness with that line. Cameron overhears this, eventually starts piecing everything together, immediately uses all of his power against Rick, taking him down once and for all. And then, however, before he can actually go in for a kill shot, Cameron's grandpa shows up to stop him, saying, like, no, this isn't the way. You could be nicer. This, you don't let them make you a force for evil. However, he gets a heart attack, in the meantime. And I was like, oh no, we're going to get an Uncle Ben moment, aren't we? But thankfully not. Beth apparently also has, EMT. She has, her gloves are also capable of like being resuscitators. So, she uses them to help the grandpa, and that saves him. And thankfully the entire fight subdues. However, there's still like that big open cliffhanger of like, oh, y'all got a lot to talk about. Like, Cameron knows everything. The grandparents are evil. Rick tried to kill Cameron. Like, there's just a lot more stuff to unpack. Like, next week's episode better not be like, I understand what you're saying. This better not be it. There better be like an actual screaming match or something like that. There's gotta be that. Like, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I believe after that, yeah, so I want to say Mike and his friend, the new Thunderbolt, bike their way over to the farm. They don't find anyone at the door, but it turns out the farm owner is already dead. They head into the stable house, where Thunderbolt finally shows back up. Also, I completely forgot to say, Thunderbolt, like the actual pen entity, is voiced by Seth Green. Which I completely missed that over in the season 2 review. Like, I had no idea what Seth Green, like, it sounded familiar, but I'm like, I had no idea how Seth Green, I just thought that was a different voice actor. They're looking through the barn, and they eventually come across a gorilla. A talkative gorilla. And it's not the gorilla from Doom Patrol. It's not. It's an albino white gorilla. And it talks as well. Like, it actually talks. And, you know, I'm just like, who the fuck are you? I'm like thinking to myself, did they ever mention? I thought it was Solomon Grundy for a second. Like, oh, that's not Grundy. And he's like, I will kill them all. I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, I hope to God they explain this, because like I'm just completely flabbergasted right now. Because like, yeah, you set up Mr. Bones. Like, again, the whole Mr. Bones thing was like, don't judge people by their appearance. Obviously, very valuable lesson. The grandparents becoming the people actually watching them, I don't believe it. I will also believe it if it actually ends up being true if they explain it. I don't believe it still, but that came out of left field as well. I thought they were just mainly setting them up for a season 4 antagonist point, and now you got this gorilla that can talk. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell's going on over here anymore. I really don't know. It's like, you know, it seems like they're just trying to rush everything out. Like, again, there's still 4 episodes left. I could be wrong. I could very much be wrong. I hope to be wrong. But we'll see what happens. It's just my immediate reaction to what I'm seeing in this episode. But that was the end of this week's episode, with just the cliffhanger of like the gorilla killed the gambler. The gorilla almost killed Starman. And, you know, who the hell is this gorilla really? We don't know. We really don't know. But we'll find out very much soon, because that was the end of this week's episode. So for me, I thought this episode was really good. Up until that part. Because again, it's like a big cliffhanger that really had no... It wasn't like a, oh my God cliffhanger. It was like, what the fuck cliffhanger? Because like, I don't know who the hell this guy is. I really don't know. It would have been different if, like, you know, it turned out to be, oh, Icicle's back, or Brainwave's back, or Dragon Key. That would be much more of a bigger, like, oh my God moment. I was like, what the fuck? I really don't know what's going on over here anymore. I really don't know. But besides that one negative, I was happy to see the JSA back together for a little bit longer. Getting to see those cool fight scenes in the end was like really awesome to see. Getting to see a raw Rick versus Cameron fight was like very muchly contested, very muchly awaited, and we finally got it. We finally saw it, and it was pretty badass. Beth getting that, you know, emotional support from her parents, you know, to help her out in the end was really sweet. Hopefully that does open the door for them to, like, you know, maybe rekindle their very, very harassment partnership. And yeah, there's still so many questions. Like, there really is. Like, you know, are we going to get Mike's mom again before the finale? What is this gorilla? Again, 4 episodes seems like a lot to handle. It really does. But I'm like, there's just so much still to unpack. And I'm just like, it's so sad that, like, we're not going to get some sort of season 4 to, like, get some sort of air out of all this information. We're not. But, you know, at the end of the day, we'll see how it goes. We will see how it all goes. But, you know, at least for now, for this episode, I really enjoyed it. It still sucks that this is the beginning of the end. But hopefully, next week, we'll have a much more better understanding of things. But for me, I'm going to give this episode 2 thumbs up. I still really enjoyed it, besides that, you know, big what the hell ending. But, yeah, let me know in the comments below. What did you think of this week's episode of DC Stargirl? Let's have a conversation down below. And I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the 3rd season of Stargirl. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's the Two, besides our DC Stargirl episode reviews, we're currently doing Walker episode reviews, Walker Independence episode reviews, the Rookie episode reviews, and the Rookie Feds episode reviews each and every week after brand new episodes on the CW and ABC. So stay tuned for them. But if you don't care about Stargirl, you're in luck. We'll be back next week with another brand new episode review. So just to clarify, we have 4 more episode reviews left till the big finale. Then afterwards, we're going to do a season 3 review to wrap it all up. So it sucks to say, but that's just the way things work. But again, this has been What's the Two from ActionX. Please subscribe to us on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. Please also follow us on social media to see what to do. Any sort of updates we may have for either of our channels. Ring that bell, and of course, like, favorite, share if you want to. But until we see each other again, for all you members of the Stargirls out there, I'll see you all next week. But until then, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.